elegance of the Hawker Sea Fury. So the Sea Fury, a carrier-borne fighter bomber, was the British Fleet Air Arm's last piston-engine fighter. Although developed during the Second World War, it did not see service with the Fleet Air Arm until after the war, and is one of the fastest piston-engined aircraft ever built. Indeed built by Hawker, one of the most famous names in British aviation. Part of a generation of aircraft that includes some of the most famous of all time, from of course the Hurricane, through the Typhoon and Tempest, onto the Hunter, and of course the Harrier as well. Designed in 1942 to meet the Royal Air Force's requirement for a lightweight Tempest replacement. Some 6 prototypes were built, powered with different engines. First flew 21st of February 1945. Indeed, the first prototype had a fixed wing, the second had a folding wing, so important for the anticipated carrier operations where space on a carrier deck is at an absolute premium. But of course, with the end of the war, the Royal Air Force found itself fully loaded with fast piston-engined aircraft. There were still Typhoons and Tempests in service, so the Royal Air Force lost interest in the Fury, but the Fleet Air Arm stayed true. Deck trials began upon HMS Ocean during the winter of 1946 and 1947, with the aircraft entering full service with the Fleet Air Arm in the spring of 1947.
Sorry to interrupt the air display in front of you at the moment, but we have a missing child. So if I could have your attention, we have a missing child, Sam Osborne, who is aged 6. 6-year-old male Sam Osborne. He was last seen in the static display areas, and this is what he's wearing. He's wearing a grey top with red sleeves, navy blue trousers, and he is missing his front 2 top teeth. So if you see a youngster in a bit of distress, if you could take him please to the information point, which is in front of air traffic control. That's the white and yellow.
To the ultimate limit, big piston engines need big propellers, but as propellers get big and heavy, they start introducing more and more drag, which of course negates some of the additional power you're trying to put into the aircraft. You can't just keep making the engines bigger, because that thrust, that power I should say, just will not be made available to the aircraft itself. So the Sea Fury has a 5-bladed propeller. It's 12 feet in diameter, weighs half a ton, and turns at 2,750 revolutions per minute. That's 46 times a second.
And all of that performance was put to very good use during the Korean War of 1950 to 53. Sea Furies were flown during that conflict off 3 Royal Navy and 1 Royal Canadian Navy carriers, and it was one of these airplanes that on the 8th of August 1952 scored the only British air-to-air kill of that war.
And it was a very notable one. Piston engine fighter shooting down jet engine swept wing fighter in the form of one of the communist flown MiG-15s. And it's now believed that a pilot by the name of Lieutenant Brian Ellis was the one who delivered the coup de grace. This one is a two-seat Sea Fury T20 conversion trainer. And that sewing machine smooth sound is that of the 2,500 horsepower Bristol Centaurus radial engine that powers this machine. Quite unusual these days to have a Centaurus engine, Sea Fury or Fury, because Iraq and Pakistan bought land-based Furies, and there are still quite a lot of those in flying condition. Quite a lot of the airworthy examples now have been re-engined with American-built Wright or Pratt & Whitney power plants. And so this is an absolute delight to see and hear. The aircraft is civilian owned by a company called Naval Aviation Limited. And this is the operating arm of the Fly Navy Heritage Trust and Navy Wings, which used to support the Royal Navy Historic Flight at RNAS Yeovilton. The flight was disbanded earlier this year, and so it now comes under the auspices of Navy Wings' own heritage flight. This all means that when the Swordfish of the former Royal Navy Historic Flight return to the air in due course, they'll be doing so on the Civil Register for the first time. And it gives you a very good idea, this aircraft, of the pace of piston engine fighter development. The Hurricane that we'll be seeing later had a maximum speed of 340 miles an hour. Just a few years later, the Sea Fury was capable of a maximum somewhere in the region of 460. Final pass from the Hawker Sea Fury T20. And a typically beautiful demonstration by Chris Gutka, former commanding officer of the Royal Navy Historic Flight, and this certainly counts among his favourite aeroplanes. And Ben, you